So the placemaking aspect is what we're going to look into. Potentially zone changes or different concepts and ideas of what we can do with properties in the flats area. So we've really spent a lot of time on the connectivity part of it. Now we can get into more of what kind of businesses do we want to see? How do we encourage these types of businesses to be there? Do we want to recommend to town plan and zoning different zone changes, things like that? So that's going to probably be the next few months of what we'll do. And that's why I think it's great to have economic development involved in that, because that's really right up that committee's alley in that. So I sent out a copy of what Laura Peary did last year as a general draft idea, some ideas on placemaking. We didn't really get into it because we focused more on the connectivity part of it because of the time frame that we needed to get this done by. So hopefully early 2025, we'll be able to sit down and go through that and add to it and really come up with some more concrete ideas on what we want to do in the flats. So I sent that out not to discuss tonight, but to talk about for the next meeting.
Chris, I noticed that was a draft.
Yes.
Is there a finalized report?
No,
Or is
not
that
yet.
as far as we've gone? Okay.
What we were doing initially is working with Laura Peary and SLR kind of simultaneously. And then when these opportunities for these federal grants, the federal grant money came up to do the connectivity part of it, we put the placemaking on the back burner and focused on the connectivity because the window for the grants was a narrow window. So now that we've got that in place and we're doing the design work, we can shift back to the placemaking aspect of it.
So Chris, we've signed on with Connecticut Main Street
Yep.
Center. We probably should think about how we bring them into this conversation, right? Because it's some of it, and I know Peary came from them or vice versa, right? But they are going to be performing an assessment of the business district for us, right? In terms of really along these same lines. So I think we should loop them in as we get going, right?
Absolutely.
In early 2025.
Yep. So do you have a meeting scheduled with someone from the Connecticut Main Street?
I do not yet. I'm going to reach out to Michelle and kind of coordinate that. I know at the Board of Selectmen meeting the other night, she identified who our primary contact is going to be. I haven't met them yet, but I sort of envisioned the placemaking would really would benefit from their involvement.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
No, I think this is it's a great opportunity to work at this from a couple different directions, but combining the resources of these two committees, I think would be really, really beneficial.
Mm-hmm. And as we think about zoning, how far have you all gotten with those questions?
We haven't really talked about zoning at all.
Okay.
To be honest, so I know I think everybody's received an email from the first selectman about our committees providing some input to the plan of conservation and development. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll have enough time to give them some general comments on that. But it's tough. It's a lot to do in a very short period of time. Mm-hmm. So maybe in January we can have another meeting, a joint meeting, and then we can talk a little bit about that and make some general recommendations to them. I don't think there's anything that we're going to recommend that they're not already visualizing. I think they're visualizing a lot of, similar things, but it's just letting them know that, we're paying attention and we have our goals and letting them know what they are, and hopefully they'll all mesh together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know, mixed use was a part of the 2015 POCD.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. So it shouldn't be new news. And as we think about, updating that, right, we would need to be consistent there.
Exactly. Yep. Scott, you sent me 2015 POCD.
Yes.
I'll send that out to the 2030 committee. And then when we meet in probably, I doubt, well, we won't meet in December because it'll be right in the middle of the holidays, but we meet in January. We can probably talk about the 2015 POCD and Connecticut Main Street and Laura Perry's placemaking draft plan.
So we'll have roundtables with SLR on the POC. There's a lot of acronyms, right?
Yes.
So we will have those roundtables in early January. I met with Chris last week.
Okay.
So what we need to provide by the end of the year are any updates. So if you go to the back of that of the 2015 POCD, you see there are grids in there. It really is an exercise of like add, change, delete. And if you have any new objectives, so on the EDC, that's what we're working on. But a lot of what was in the 2015 POCD was really, I guess, what became 2030. A few years later.
Yes.
Right. So that's really what we're picking up on right now. So yeah, I mean, if you have, if you want to go through that, but there is a deliverable by 12/31.
Okay.
To provide those updates to her. So we're going to go through it. If you've got changes or modifications, send them to me. We'll bring it all together.
Okay. So I will make a note that we need to get input before 12/31.
Where's that input being sent, Scott?
It goes to Chris.
Goes to Chris.
And SLR takes that and they will then bake that into what they're doing. And then in January, we have roundtables to kind of react to the work that they're doing. That's the way it was explained to me.
Okay. Okay. And I'm sure that in January, if we have more ideas or we've distilled our ideas a little bit better, we can share that as well with them.
It's also something we can bring Goldman and York into the conversation as well. So, so we have some ideas. They can provide some input based on what they've seen. They've done quite an assessment or a preliminary assessment of our zoning to begin with. It's early, but it's something that they're very focused on.
Okay. Yeah, lots going on. That's exciting. Do we have anything else?
I'd just like to kind of bear in on that comment you just made, Scott. So when, so as I imagine you're talking about Economic Development Commission, having some input. Are we going to have some working sessions in front of when we actually make those recommendations?
We will. I don't think we're going to have time at our meeting on December 12th to get into it. So we will probably need to have a special meeting.
So you anticipate a meeting on December 12th and then a subsequent meeting prior to year end?
Possibly. An alternative would be to route what they have, provide some comments and kind of do it iteratively versus getting together. But if need be, we would schedule a special meeting.
I'm thinking that the 2030 committee should have another meeting before just the end of December. So we'll have to work on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can work together.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we should probably plan a joint meeting.
Okay.
That would be the most effective thing. Okay.
Something as intricate as zoning changes, I just don't know that we can, knock that off in one clean slice.
Yeah, I know you're right. There's a lot of nuances to that. It might be more general recommendations like mixed use or, things like more general ideas than specifics, and leave that to TPZ to figure out the specifics. But we should have a conversation about that.
I see you nodding, Scott. Is that kind of the way you look at it as well?
Yes, I think, having the joint meeting would work to bring that together.
Okay,
I don't foresee real specific zoning changes between now and December 31st that we're going to recommend. Steve, I don't think that we're there, right? I think from a process standpoint, we need to re-engage on the placemaking, right? And refine that a little bit. That's not going to happen in a month. In order to make firm recommendations, but we do know, mixed use in the business district is something that we're going to have to go after, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of been part of it from the beginning.
and keep in mind, the plan of conservation and development it's a plan, it's not carved in stone. So the state requires it to be done every 10 years. When it's finished in May or June of 2025, it doesn't mean we can't modify
Right.
what's in it in July of 2025. So we'll have some flexibility there. But yeah, Scott, let's talk about having a joint meeting in early December if we can do that.
Okay.
I'd have to, figure out when people on our committee could meet, but when do you normally meet, EDC?
So we're the second Thursday. So that would put us at the 12th.
Okay. Let me get an email out tomorrow to 2030.
Yeah, I'll
And-
do the same.
Okay, and then
We could ask Tony to coordinate it.
You could, yeah, I'm sure she would be happy to.
okay.
Yeah, thanks for the additional texture there. Appreciate it.
If we're gonna do that, I guess it would be good to, if there's any legwork or homework you want us to do beforehand, we can definitely do a little research or take a look at what we're gonna be discussing.
Hang on. I can show you, just give me 1 second. I think I can share screen.
I could give you, yeah, there you go.
So let's go all the way to page 160. So in the back, there are these action agendas, right? And it starts here at 135. So you can go through and see the different areas, the lead agency, so TPZ, right? And then they're classified as short-term, medium-term, long-term. All right. And as you scroll down, you can start to see where EDC picks up.
Mhm.
There was no 2030 in 2015.
No, there wasn't.
Right. So, but then you can see where there's a little bit of crossover. But what I noticed as well, like even if it doesn't say EDC, just see if there's anything that's pertinent to us, even though, EDC isn't in there. And then what Chris is really looking for is what's changing. Okay. And what would we need to add based on what we know today?
Okay, and you're saying Chris Sullivan
Yes.
will be looking for that? Yeah. Okay.
So I think, in advance, if you, Chris, if you want to route that to your folks,
Yep.
I can do the same on my side, right? But really looking at the back, the commentary around all of this is what comprises the first 130 pages of the document. But it's really the changes to this chart was where Chris Sullivan pointed me.
So that's starting around page 135, you said, right, Scott?
Right.
Okay, perfect. Right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of the 2015 plan really hasn't been implemented, but I think that what we're going to be working on is actually going to be implemented. So we're finally going to see
Right.
some significant changes after really decades of trying. We're going to see some real significant changes. So
Right.
this is it's exciting for our town.
So where, I mean, I can show you some of the, I think it was in the second chapter 2. Yeah. So you can see this was what was produced, I believe, by the consultant last time. Oh, that's housing. Okay. So the economic development, you can see back at the time it was called the Village, right?
Yep.
I think that was the working name. And
Yep.
there was a lot of, I mean, in addition to some of the background around looks like around page 40, right, is when it starts to get into some of the actions, the near term, the short term. It basically brings to life what's in those the grids at the back.
Yeah.
But there was quite a bit of detail back then. And this was grounded in the 2013 work that was done.
I mean, I'll say it says expand sidewalks and install additional wayfinding elements to the village. We did expand the sidewalks a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have a greater expansion of that,
Right.
which is good.
But you can see here the recommendation around everything in blue here is infill and reuse development area.
Yes.
Right. So not to get too into the details, right? But there's DeAndrea's Plaza.
Yep.
Right. So they took this pretty far, in my view. And then these are some revisions to the zoning that were recommended. So you can see village mixed, right?
Yep.
It looks like that was the big recommendation. And then we get into transportation. So there's quite a bit in here, but I think we start with what were on those grids. What would we add now today, knowing what we know? Make some revisions. You know, to your point, Chris, the 2030 recommendations, right, are the closest in things that we can focus on.
Yep. And actually, interestingly, I haven't looked at this plan of conservation development in a long time, but looking at the map, on the conceptual plan map, it talks a lot about intersection improvements and bike routes and pedestrian routes and streetscaping. And a lot of that is now going to actually be implemented finally. So, so that's good. We can build off that and make some more recommendations on what they can do in the next level.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's. I'll send Tony an email tonight and ask her to coordinate
Okay.
something for us.
Great. And I'll send some information out to 2030, and then we'll circle back and get a joint meeting together in early December and get rolling on this.
Steve, do you have a copy of the POCD? I thought we had sent this out a while back.
Yes.
So you did
Yes.
receive it. Okay.
I did, yes.
All right, great. So we'll get on that.
Okay.
And yeah, I just know we have a guest speaker at our December EDC meeting that's going to pick up a good chunk of that. So
Okay.
otherwise, I would have offered that up.
Maybe we can do it a week ahead if possible.
We could, you know, I mean, we could bolt on time in advance of it if you want, like to try that, or a week ahead, or I'll let Tony work the
Yeah.
schedules.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Anything else for tonight? Okay.
I think we're good.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we'll be in touch and get excited for some new things to do in our town.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Y'all have a
Well,
great night.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Thanks.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All.
Bye-bye.